Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hospitality Academy's Masterclass for December. As many of you know, my name is Kimberly, and I'm your academic advisor at Hospitality Academy. It's my great pleasure to be hosting today's Masterclass. As we're ending the year of 2023, I like to talk about this topic of sustainable tourism in hopes that we can all be we can try to be a more sustainable tourist, or even in our workplace, especially since all of you are working in hospitality. How can we suggest to our properties or even in our future of how to create a sustainable tourism? Throughout today's masterclass, there's going to be some polls and reflections, and I really strongly encourage you to participate, as this can be a very interactive conversation. So before we begin, let's start with a poll. Let me see. Sorry, 1 second. Oh no, it's not working. Well, I have the question, so you can just write in the chat box. Sorry. Have you heard of the term sustainable tourism? You can just quickly write in the chat box yes or no if you have heard of it. Yes. Okay, good. Amazing. If you've heard of this term that we use, could you tell me one thing or one word that comes to your mind when you hear of sustainable tourism? Maybe that's a water bottle, I don't know. Or it could be something else. It could be taking a train or an airplane or something like that. Footprint, good, carbon footprint. What else? When we think of the term sustainable tourism or this topic, what do we think of? Just so we can get a better idea. So we think of footprint. What else? Supporting local communities. Good, Carolina. Do tourist activities while caring for the health of our planet. Yes, right? Being aware of where we are. Amazing. Anyone else? Environment. Good. Conserve. Amazing. Okay, good. Sorry, I don't know why the polls aren't working, but sometimes when we think of different terms in talking about sustainability and tourism and things, we can get mixed up in regards to sustainability and tourism. So before we begin the presentation today, I want to understand the difference between these three terms. So we have ecotourism. Ecotourism is a niche segment of tourism in natural areas. So for example, camping, hiking, wildlife viewing are all examples of ecotourism. A specific example of ecotourism would be visiting Tanzania, for example, to see native wildlife. That is ecotourism. Okay, so you're supporting the local community, but in the regards of tourism. The second term I would like to talk about is ecotourism. Ecotourism is a niche segment of tourism in natural areas. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Responsible. I already did ecotourism. My apologies. Responsible tourism. My bad. Is a term referring to the behavior and the style of an individual traveler. Okay, so some examples of being a responsible tourist could be dining at local restaurants, visiting local markets, street markets in Bangkok, for example, or even using a local tour guide. Instead of using big, type of corporations, you can find local tour guides who maybe know maybe more unique spots in where you're visiting. Oops. And then lastly, our topic for today is sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism is an aspiration for all the impacts of all the forms of tourism to be sustainable for our generations to come. Some examples of this can be not using the single plastic water bottles in hotels, or on the contrary, you can schedule an appointment at a hotel spa or a local spa that uses sustainable cosmetics or products. So let's get into like the nitty-gritty of sustainable tourism with definitions and all of that. So sustainable tourism is defined by the UN Environmental Program and the UN World Tourism Organization as, quote, a tourism that takes full account of its current and future economic, social, and environmental impacts, addressing the needs of visitors, the industry, the environment, and host communities. This can also be related to leisure, business, event travel, or even travel to just visit your friends and family. So as you can see, it's not just about the tourists, it's about all the impacts from every part or every stage of the process. So the World Tourism Organization and the United Nations Environment Program suggested 12 main goals for sustainable tourism. These will help demonstrate the ways in which sustainable tourism can provide a solution to some of the global challenges facing the hospitality and or tourism industry today. So bear with me, there's 12 of them, okay? So number 1 is economic viability. This is to make sure that tourist destinations and businesses are viable, competitive, and able to achieve long-term success. Number 2, local prosperity. This is to ensure that that tourism activities help local communities thrive economically and retain a large amount of the economic contribution. Because if you go and visit a tourist town, you want to make sure that that money stays in that community. Number 3, employment quality. This is to increase the number of local jobs created in the tourism industry and ensure that the pay, the working conditions are fair, safe, and offered to workers without discrimination. Social equity. This is to ensure that tourism increases the amount of economic and social benefits being distributed across the local communities and improving all areas of life, not just the areas of the hotel industry or the restaurant industry. Number 5 is visitor fulfillment. This is to create a safe, fulfilling holiday experience for tourists without discrimination based on their race, gender, sexuality, disability, or others. This is very important when visiting, other cultures and other communities. And number 6, local control. This is to empower local communities to have a role in planning and decision-making regarding tourism in their neighborhoods. So many situations happen where there's this completely huge boom of tourism in an area, and the local communities and the neighbors are being pushed out of their own communities because of the influx of tourism, and they don't have a say if they want that to happen or not. So with this goal, this is to try to help it. Okay, the next 6, community well-being. This is to improve the quality of life and well-being of local communities, ensuring that they have access to the resources and are not disrespected or exploited in the name of tourism. Number 8, cultural richness. This is to respect the cultural heritage, the traditions, authenticity, and uniqueness of the host communities. Number 9, physical integrity. This is to look after all landscapes, whether urban or rural, and to ensure that they're not degraded physically or visually as the result of tourism. I imagine that all of you here today joining me have been a tourist before, and you might have seen at tourist attractions or monuments, right? Maybe there's lots of litter, a lot of trash on the ground. And eventually, this degrades the property or the monument, and this brings down the integrity of the place. And number 10 is biological diversity. This is to conserve natural areas, wildlife's unique habitats, protecting them and ensuring them they are not damaged. Again, referring back to, visiting maybe a wildlife reserve or something like that. It's always like, do not feed the birds, do not touch, the iguanas, okay? For that, because, that is important. That's their natural habitat. And if we have a lot of tourists, disrupting that, then there causes that imbalance. Number 11 is resource efficiency. This is to use sustainable and renewable resources when possible in the development and operation of tourism facilities and services. And then lastly, number 12 is environmental purity. This is to protect the land, the air, and water from pollution, littering, and other waste that come into the result of tourism, businesses, or visitors. So with these goals, the UN hopes that the problems that the tourist countries are currently facing will improve by promoting more sustainable tourist practices. Okay, so what are some positive impacts? Because that was a lot to debrief. What are some positive impacts of tourism? Okay, with the economic resources improving communities, they can flourish in many different ways. So let's take a look. Positive impacts. So first we have the category of social and cultural benefits of tourism. This could be strengthened communities due to more money and resources, improved infrastructures, including buildings and transport systems, especially if the community or the industry demands it, right? If you don't have a lot of bus systems or things like that, and you have an influx of tourists, this could, improve that for the tourists, but also for the local communities. We have the higher rates of employment due to the tourism industry. Of course, when you have a new hotel, you have all of those positions to fill, which can benefit the local communities. Improved understanding of different cultures and traditions, preservation of local cultures, conservation of the heritage, including architecture and natural sites. Of course, when you have more money from tourism, you're able to preserve more. And then increased number of events and celebrations. Environmental benefits of tourism can include creation of natural parks, improved water quality, not just for tourists, but also for the local communities, and increased funding for nature conservation and protection. Of course, all of these positive impacts of tourism are not globally applied. Depending where you are in the world or where you visit, tourist expectations might be different or higher. So again, these might not all apply. Okay, my question to you is to write in the chat, please, since the polls aren't working. What do you think are some negative impacts of tourism? We just explained some positive ones, but what do you think are some negative impacts of tourism? You could just write over visitors, good. Greenwashing, What else? Skepticism from locals, high energy consumption, good. Carbon footprint from traveling, absolutely. All of these are completely correct, right? Foreign cultural negative impact, amazing. And of course, this all depends on where you're going or where you're visiting, but all of these are correct. So let me tell you a little bit about the development of the area, the negative impacts it can have. Of course, damage to wild habitats due to new infrastructure. Of course, if you're, building a new resort in the middle of, I don't know, the forest, you're taking away all of those habitants from their homes, right? Not talking about people, but animals, plants, and etc., and removing them. You also have weakened resilience to natural disasters, some beautiful scenery, they're ruined by hotels and car parks. You have deforestation, overuse of water due to the influx of people. And then additionally, you have the behavior of tourists, right? You have the air pollution due to all of the traffic congestion, the destruction of nature due to littering and disregard. You also have wildlife relocating to different areas due to the increased noise levels, like someone said, at a higher consumption of energy. And also, the one that really hurts my heart a lot is the plastic pollution in the ocean, which affects sea life. So all of these are potential, negative impacts when we're thinking of tourism and the influx that, communities have when, a group of tourists come in, or for example, a new destination becomes popular, the best place to go in 2024, or becomes, a social media hit, you have to go here, and it becomes really, really big, right? And the community and the area and the environment is not prepared for it. So, what can you do? We're going to talk about some ways as human beings and as tourists, ways that we can contribute to being a responsible tourist or a sustainable tourist. So I imagine a lot of you have seen pictures like this, very similar, right? The first suggestion that we can have to be a more responsible tourist or more sustainable tourist is get off the beaten path. Okay, getting off the beaten path allows travelers to have a more unique and authentic experience while avoiding the crowds. Again, this doesn't mean you have to pitch a tent in the middle of nowhere, but it does require you to do a bit more research. So instead of looking the top 10 destinations or the attraction list, you can explore Google Maps or even ask a local or other travelers for recommendations. Not saying this isn't a beautiful place to go, but maybe there's something else more unique that, really grabs your attention. Slow down and stay a while. Slowing things down will allow you to really experience the place that you're visiting. When you aren't rushed, that I have to catch a flight the next morning, you can take the time to immerse yourself in the culture, build deeper connections with local people, and get to know the destination's unique charms. You can take a cooking class and taste local flavors and learn how to make traditional dishes. The next one is use efficient modes of transportation. In addition to traveling slowly, there are other ways that you can reduce your carbon emission or your carbon footprint, like I think it was Axel who said that's produced by your trip. Approximately 8% of the world's carbon emissions are caused by travel and tourism. So when you're in a destination, consider taking the bus, traveling by train, or even cycling around town instead of taking or renting a car. If you work in hotels, I imagine you have seen this hanging, or if you've visited hotels, right? Conserve water and energy. Tourists often consume significantly more water and energy than local residents, and many destinations struggle to keep up with the demand. To reduce your carbon footprint, turn off the lights and the TV and other electronics when they're not in use. When you're leaving your hotel room, turn off the AC or set the thermostat for a few degrees higher. And of course, hang up your towel in the bathroom to indicate to the hotel housekeeping staff that you wish to reuse your towels. I personally have seen a lot more of these signs or this initiative in hotels of, saving our planet and reusing the same towel for the duration of your stay. The next one is keep your dollars local. The best way to ensure host companies reap in the benefits of tourism is by supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs. You can dine at local restaurants and savor the traditional dishes made by locally sourced ingredients. You can get out of your comfort zone and have some fun navigating the local market, or here you can see they're on a local tour. I don't know where that is, but they're on a local tour. You can also go to a local street market. You can buy spices grown by a local farmer, or you can also learn a new skill by a local expert by, for example, signing up for a weaving workshop or even surfing lessons. And then lastly, one of the most important or the most common plastic items used by tourists is single-serve beverage bottles. Luckily, there's a simple solution. And I imagine a lot of you have done this, maybe not so much as a tourist, but just in your everyday life, is to bring your own reusable water bottle on your trip. I think the number one problem when we think about bringing a usable water bottle is tourists might be worried about the water quality in the destination that they're visiting. But there's always a solution. There are water bottles that have a built-in purifier for these people who wish to have purified water. Which I know a lot is that's something everyone thinks about when they're going and traveling. So just to recap our masterclass for today, the main responsibility of sustainable tourism include protecting the environment, natural resources, and wildlife, providing social economic benefits for communities who live in the tourist destinations, conserving cultural heritage and creating authentic tourist experience, bringing tourists and communities together for the mutual benefit, and then creating inclusive and accessible tourist opportunities. So I know that we covered a lot of aspects of the sustainable tourism today, and I hope you learned a little bit more about how you can become a more sustainable traveler or a tourist, and you can make a difference when you're visiting a new place or even going back home. I know it was short and sweet, but that is the end of today's masterclass. I appreciate everyone's participation. And don't forget to look out on our social media for our next events coming in 2024. I wish everyone a wonderful holiday season and a great start to 2024. We will be in contact, and thank you so much for joining me today. And I wish you a great day ahead. Thank you.